Ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bá jó, ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bá jó, olúwa mi ò dìde ojó ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀.
Welcome to Theoryforge Chronicles. I am Phantom X, joined as always by Sog, Diggs, and the legendary Neurotoxin for our, unfortunately, last Chronicle. How's everybody doing?
Doing all right.
Holding up so far, so good.
So before we kind of, I think, get started, because there's probably a lot to unpack in an hour for the last few years, we had originally announced that Snipe and Humble would be with us tonight, and they wanted to. We decided, given everything that has continued to sort of build up, to delay that. So that the goal is still for them to actually come join us, but we're going to wait until things have sort of cooled down a little bit. It's not that we necessarily think everybody in the community blames them for anything, but we just didn't think it would be fair to them to sort of suffer through a lot of the anger that's going on right now. So we tried to get that message back out today. However, unfortunately, which is part of what we'll probably talk about, Discord and the forums were both shut down. So I had no real good way of doing that. So if you're here for them, sorry, it's just us wonderful four men sitting here. Please stay. If not, we understand. So that being said, where to begin? I feel like there's a lot. My mind's kind of frozen right now.
Number 4, there was EverQuest Next that was trying to do the whole next-gen MMO sort of thing where, like, things that you do matter and the world changes, and that one could put. But then we had some hope. There was, like, Revival going on, and then there was this hero song that Smed was like, you know what? I don't need the rest of the studio. I can make my own meow, and it can be smaller, and you pick your own gods. And it's going to be awesome, except after the 1 year mark, it's like, oh, Amazon Game Studios going to give me a blank check to give everyone refunds and move the whole team over and can this project. And that's where it went. So then, of course, Ilphonic took a look around and realized they bit off more than they had the funding for relative to the rate and pace and quality and turnaround they were getting on their other projects to be able to sustain Revival. So unfortunately, that too went under. And so there was a bit of I wouldn't say necessarily a dark period, because Chronicles of Elyria wasn't, too far out from all of that. But unfortunately, as we're seeing now, it was not going to be the successor to where the other 3 unfortunately went under. That being said, Revival is where us here on the show and probably a lot of folks got their first chance to meet Ombo and Snipe Hunter. And personally, the quality of the stuff that they've done in the Revival stuff, the stuff with the Theliston IP, Theliston, it's been pretty cool. Definitely looking forward to more stuff going on with that. And what conceptually they were working on that we never unfortunately really got to see come to light was definitely seeming pretty cool. So I the team itself had a lot of really cool stuff that they were working on. There were a lot of good folks. There were a lot of folks who had a lot of experience, and unfortunately, not having been there at the studio, I can't really say what the big problem was, but we can just kind of look from the outside in that what was going on. Well, every other web event basically like completely tanked and had various problems, from functionality to being a loot box event to all sorts of stuff like that. And obviously those sorts of issues all along the way kind of hurt confidence. I wouldn't say that was necessarily what caused a lack of funding that caused the doors to close. It didn't really seem like they were actually necessarily underfunded from an outsider perspective. Obviously, I have no idea how much every seat cost. rent utilities on the office and all of that sort of stuff. All business fees and whatnot. But one thing we do know is that the game is now not being made, and everybody was let go pretty promptly. Probably already put their
Positive.
resumes
I
out.
want to talk about some positives over the
Wait,
over the
wait,
time here at some point,
but
right?
I just want to jump in real quick and say, I mean, it's in Washington State, right? Isn't that hit hard by
It is,
coronavirus
and
shutdown?
yeah, and that probably had some impact. And if the money was kept in an investment bank and that investment bank just tanked like a third of everybody's total value as the stock market plummeted in a couple of weeks, yeah, that probably wouldn't have done good for things either. That's it's really worrisome to think that had things not been going on, had the economy not just started tanking, that things would have been completely unaffected, and they'd be barreling towards the next release of whatever it's going to be right now. uh
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It
yeah.
feels to me like that was the major hit. Is you know, I mean, people are shutting down their offices and laying people off. I mean, it's not just Soulbound Studios, but
I got a pay cut. My wife got a pay cut. A lot of people I know don't have jobs at all. I mean, um, it's not like money problems aren't real.
Right.
and yeah, I mean, I was planning to wait until the towards the end of the 45 days to buy in. I don't know. Did anybody ever snatch up that last place in Theoryforge? Theory's Forge in your
No.
county? I was waiting. I was thinking I would go ahead and snap that up. I didn't want to pay quite $100 for it, but um, maybe 80. Um, I don't know if I should have at this point, but lots of people were not going to have disposable income to keep bidding on this stuff, I would imagine. Um, and so I don't know, when you're depending on people like us to, you know, siphon funds into your business, and it's not a great time for us to be spending disposable income. I don't think we have disposable income. So I don't know. Uh,
Yeah, I want to before we go so deep into there are all these things that happened. The game's gone. There's all this chatter about it. There is this whole other like elephant called COVID-19 in the room that it is really there. But as this is not the first project that I've followed that I got involved in the community with. But since EverQuest Next, I've not met so many people that I plan to continue interacting with. With that, like I look at the people in this chat. I mean, Huldrick is the funniest meme guy I've ever seen in my life. I've seen, Terragwin and Plume hanging out there, and Eric, and we've known Polaris for a long time. But like there are lots of people whose names that I know, and I'm gonna be happy to hang out and talk to anytime. So I won
Yeah.
there. I don't meet a lot of like actual humans that I like very often. So
Sog, how are you?
thanks for being likable humans. Is that an okay thing to say?
Sog,
Yeah.
how are you doing with all this social distancing you're forced to do now?
I mean, you know how much I left my house. Uh, I was home a lot, but the worst thing is that now, like when I need to get out, I can't really get out. So it's been okay, except kids are home from school.
Right,
Uh,
but for you personally, this is pretty much the way you've been living the last couple of
yeah,
years anyway.
this is a lot of my social interaction for life. But I can't go sit at a bar when I like need to go sit at a bar right now. But Yeah, this has been actually great for that. And I have thoroughly enjoyed being a part of this community. And even without a game, we had a ton of fun. Like another example, at PAX PAX West last year, I stopped in at the Blackheart meetup, and earlier today, I check in Discord, and I have a message from Tensley saying, "Hey, we're real happy people showed up to our PAX meetup, so we should keep that going." Things like that. I don't. I'm not saying that there aren't lots of negative things that we could talk about, but I had a positive experience supporting the development of this game and getting involved in a community with other people who supported it as well. And that is my overwhelming reaction, because I have been through all of the things that Neurotoxin mentioned, and before that, I was following a game called Dominus, which had a similar closing cycle where I won a T-shirt in like a live stream raffle or something from the studio. What my first experience with Twitch was following this game, and Sandra Weathers, who was the community manager from Dark Age of Camelot, was the community manager for this game in development, which is how I kind of learned about it. But I supposedly won this T-shirt, and then the next day they put out a message saying that they were closing the studio, and there was no way that I could get in contact with anybody. So I don't have a shock value. I don't think any of you guys have any shock value. You're not shocked by this. I'm like, so the fact that with this game, I met, dozens of people that I would be happy to virtually or, at least 6 feet apart without coughing on each other, interact with. In the real world too, I think that's a win. That's more than a lot of games that I have actually played and enjoyed playing. So it's my big takeaway.
Okay, I think for those who, I guess, started just watching us, like what you said, what you both have said, with Chronicles of Elyria, we've been doing this for how long? 2015? I don't know, 5 years or something.
At least, yeah.
So we actually didn't just start with this game. So we have thoroughly covered several, and our track record is terrible because none of them have released. So we might seem subdued. I think we do have strong emotions about it, but we've also been through this before, like multiple times. So, and I also am someone, when it comes to Kickstarter, I don't so much anymore, but these guys can tell you back in the day, like Kickstarter, I did a lot of Kickstarter stuff. So I'm also used to things just not coming about. So, we have a lot to say, but we're not necessarily going to be overly like pissed off, pitchforks, that sort of thing for this video. We do want to kind of think of some of the fun parts, but, and some of the things that led up to the end here.
Yeah. But that said, I want to say this. I do want to say, and again, this is not a raising pitchforks. This is what's happened, but you might as well do what you can. Do try to get your refunds, everybody. Please, please, please. Hit up Ixala, hit up your banks, see what you can do. There's no reason for you to be at a loss for the project being a loss. We'll still be able to obviously, have each other and have the communities. Which I
don't agree with. I don't have to agree with this guy, do I?
No, you don't have to.
I will go in the middle. I think anything that you did within Kickstarter leading up to DSS, that is all I think within good faith. I actually don't think you should be seeking refunds for those sorts of things. You kind of knew this was a risk. It's not an investment. You know, we aren't angel investors of any kind, so you don't own anything. So we knew that. Now, I will say, Neuro, with respect to what you just said, this has the abrupt nature of this. You don't just terminate a company out of the blue like this. So he knew this was coming, or at least this was a very, very strong possibility. So I do think releasing, Settlers of Elyria and trying to get more money out of people, that is extremely, extremely just bad. Like that if you can get your refunds, do it. I do
assuming the people that were in charge of putting this out even knew. I agree. If you bought something with Settlers of Elyria, okay. There's no way this wasn't in the works before that was finally opened up, and people could start buying things. Yeah, try to get a refund for that. But I'm not going back and money that I spent over the last couple years. I'm not trying to recuperate that. I don't want to feel. I don't want people in the world to feel like they can't even try to make awesome games, because if it doesn't work out, everyone's going to ask for all of their money back. And I didn't buy something thinking that I was going to have it forever. Even this is Chronicles of Elyria. I've bought things that I thought that I might lose with the death of my first character.
Right.
And my character died. It was kind of like a stillbirth, maybe, if we want to be real morbid about it.
Yeah.
But
I get you. It's more. I mean, I'm looking at it from the perspective of people who put in like $5,000-$10,000+ that they were really looking to make this the game that was going to be the thing they'd be building a community around. No guarantees that they actually keep that land. Likewise, I'm also thinking about like people who are in my situation. That's like kind of wait, and it's like, okay, well, this is one of the last times that titles are going to be available. It was the combination of the Kickstarter anniversary and the Longest Night stuff. It's like, well, the game's looking like it's potentially coming along a lot better. Seems like there's been a lot more, I guess, signs of progress is what I would say from what I was looking at from it. And so I was like, well, okay, seems reasonable to buy in, but the fact that all of that stuff ended and they immediately tried to put up Settlers with the issues that made them have to stop putting it up, that did definitely raise some red flags. Like, why would you, while everybody's all tapped out and they aren't going to have the resources to spend, why are you running this sale now instead of waiting? The way that I had interpreted it, which I may or may not have been right, should they have had the time to finish, was that it was the key critical step that they required before they could move on to the next technical phase of the game. And whether that's true or not, I don't know. But the idea that they try to launch it and it crashed and burned, and then they try to launch it again and it crashed and burned for the exact same reason, and they just turned that reason off, and it was kind of working. That was kind of a bummer, and that kind of, I guess, wasn't necessarily the writing on the wall so much as very suspicious, I guess I would say in hindsight. But I mean, most of my purchases I made in the past 180 days. So yeah, if I can get that money back, I would be more than happy to.
I mean, for me, it's an investment in Snipe and Ombwa, because I want to support them working on game designs for games that I want to play. So all the money I spent was going to support them. Out of all of you, I was the most about the game, just because it seemed highly convoluted, overly complex, and one, I'm not sure they can do all of it, and two, even if they could, I'm not sure that it would be fun. Um, but that being said, they've got a lot of design elements that I think I would eventually have fun playing. So I want to invest in designers like Omba and Snipe working on these kind of systems so that when they move on to the next project, it's easier and quicker to be able to implement them. So I don't need
Hell,
money back because I'm just kind of sad that I can't continue supporting them through Chronicles of Elyria.
you know,
But
I agree with you, Diggs, and at this point, I would be willing to help fund them for something that isn't even a meow. If they just got working on any old conventional game, it's just something that's going to be done in like a year or two and ship and be fun. I'll take that. They make good stuff. The lore stuff that Omba puts in, it's gold. I know we barely even got to see him scratch the surface with the trial stuff. That's why I was saying the stuff for trials, it seemed like it was like a rush job, that it wasn't his best work for a reason, that they were like, well, we need to release the trials thing, but we need to get a story. Omba, here, you've got like a day, write something. Oh, okay. And again, I have no idea if that was the truth or not. It's something that is probably behind NDA and we couldn't really have revealed to us either way. But going back to all the revival stuff, my goodness, give that man the chance to write his own story, his own world, and he just ran with it, like Tolkien-esque level of quality and kind of I would say oddity, because it was kind of a world that was using sort of those Lovecraftian horror themes. So just really, really good stuff. What I got to see of the Teleston pen and paper system when they actually played a game of that and had the stuff kind of in the works there seemed great. It was great. It was awesome seeing it play. It was awesome seeing even a tabletop game that has an evolving element to it. The that lower map down there is one of the towns that they visited in the game after the farm got burned, or no, the stables got burnt down. So like that to me is awesome, that having that control of and that sort of mastery over the lore of a game universe. So yeah, I mean, I'm super excited for anything that either one of them are working on. It was kind of a technically sort of tough game to bear, but I was really liking Ashes of a War 2. That was what he had been working on right before working on Chronicles, Omba. And I think Snipe worked on it a bit too.
Yeah,
My thing moving forward is with these games that we get, like, pages and pages and pages of background and design and story and suck you into the world, that I just want a real demo, a real proof of concept, like the core idea of a game, right? Like, this thought of the Soulbound engine was talked about for a long time. Like, the earliest documents relating to this game that were put out are about the Soulbound engine, which is this thing that allows for death and rebirth, and all of these kinds of concepts that I have supported for a very long time. But the only things that we've seen for any of these games that we've been following recently are mocked videos. They're not using a real system. Nobody is demonstrating a proof of concept. And I'm not really digging at anybody here, but I would even rather see like a Dwarf Fortress UI level mock of like this core of what's happening. Is like, we have this thing that's happening. We can show you in a MUD or an ASCII output. We can do that. Now we're going to invest in turning this into a 3D MMORPG that we can move forward. Like, Dwarf Fortress is a working great video game, and they're working on now a 2D graphics version of that game, which is really exciting because you know that the ASCII version of the game works and does exactly what it says it's supposed to do. But now we fall in love with these ideas and these descriptions of worlds that, Diggs complained about rightly about some of the aspects of the descriptions in Chronicles of Elyria, but they've improved over time. And
especially with them coming on board, they got better.
But that idea just can't be enough anymore, I think. Like, I'm a big Brandon Sanderson fan. Like, the world of the Stormlight Archive, if you guys know these books at all, the world of the Stormlight Archive would be a world that I would play an MMORPG in that world tomorrow.
Did he finish up the Wheel of...
He did finish up the Wheel of Time. He's most known for the Mistborn series. Diggs froze, I think.
Yeah, I froze.
Yeah. So yes, he finished the Wheel of Time. He's
Yeah.
most known for the Mistborn series, but his current active epic fantasy is called the Stormlight Archive. But that is the world that I would love to play a game, and I would love to be a part of that. But I could fall in love with the fantasy world reading a book. But we're talking about games, and since we've started working on this, I've become a quality software developer, right? And not seeing prototypes, not seeing progress, these concepts of, well, it's all going to come together in the end. It's not how I work. It's not how other people in the industry work. I don't understand, and I don't know what I'm missing there. I was reading Reddit earlier. I'm rambling now, but the big example of Project Gorgon, that they had something playable and usable that they could expand on within weeks of deciding they wanted to work on that project. And I've played Project Gorgon. It's fun.
I thought it was really a compelling sort of game, honestly. And, to have started as simple as it did and, kind of look at it, it's like, man, this kind of looks like EverQuest. But then when you get into it, it's like, man, this is like if EverQuest just went full on with design, like get to level 100 and everything in EverQuest. Nah, hold my beer and watch this. Get to level 100 being a cow, full cow armor. You produce higher level milk and stuff. Like that's ridiculous. Like Project Gorgon had so many amazing features to it. Getting better at dying and being able to do more things when you're dead. That's awesome. That means so Diggs just being an explorer, every time he goes and dies somewhere, boom, level up. Like that's great.
But how do we take all of my stupid rambling that I turned people off from watching and revert this back to where we need to be talking about this game?
I mean, we're kind of talking about just design and features and unique sort of stuff in general. And
so for me, well, I guess before I get to that, so to echo again what everyone's sort of saying, it's sort of buying into an idea. I think that's why we've covered so many games that just haven't worked, because we have this idea that we think's great, and I agree with Diggs that this isn't necessarily investing money in an end project. It's in the developers that are trying to get to that end project, and we're aware it might not be with this game, but every day that they get paid doing this, they get closer to that goal, to being able to take that goal somewhere where it ultimately gets put into place. So I mean, I do agree with Diggs in that. That's, why we started our very first show actually had Snipe. I mean, we love Snipe. We will play anything he does, him and Ombois. So, so what for me, looking back, we talk about features and all these things and sort of, we talked about for a while as DSS was being delayed, as we went into DSS, okay, what's the roadmap going forward? My opinion was not to go through with this whole Settlers of Elyria and what was next, Personas. They needed to get something playable in people's hands, or testable. I don't know if playable is the right word to use, but I do think that things might have been different because they were never going to get much money out of this Settlers of Elyria. They already have their base group. There was no advertising to it. I mean, they were not necessarily going to pull in large numbers of people. Yet there was this timeline that had to be done, and that kind of drives me nuts from more of a management perspective. Like, everybody for years has been, let us just do something that's not a web app, and not a web app that functions poorly. Like, let us actually get in and do something. And when that didn't happen, I really think their last chance was when the first release of SOE failed. Spending another 2.5 months to try to get it back to starting.
No, they didn't though. But and that's actually an observation. Somebody kind of PM'd me on Discord while the show's been going here, was the fact that no, they brought it down, and instead of fixing the bugs, they just made it pretty and brought it back up with the same bugs. And
well,
that's a slam dunk fail.
It was the same. It was the same problem, which was flash sales. It was a different bug. Because it was a different bug. It was a completely different implementation the second time versus the first time. But, and we said from I think I posted something on Reddit when they released again. It's like 78 days ago, we said get rid of flash sales. And so I do think that comes to sort of the management perspective. If somebody had something in his mind that needed to be done in a very specific order and was not flexible with that order, and that just ended very poorly. I really do think that December, when the decision, and I know they say, well, there's two separate teams, and that's true. Not all of the resources were focused on SOE, but there were resources focused on it. So, and money. So, I don't know.
Well, wait, I wanted to jump in and talk about the thing we can't really talk about, which was the dungeon race.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was kind of okay. I don't know how much NDA still applies, but I mean, that's kind of what I would have liked to have done, is get a chance to play.
Well, technically, our transactions no longer exist. So.
I was going to say, on one hand, the NDA might still be in place, but on the other hand, they showed a video that basically showed all of it. There's not really much that they didn't reveal in that video. So I know there was, I think, some mention about the access to, was it some character creation or selection, and that might have been the only other thing that was not revealed in it to that extent. But yeah, I mean, it was a thing. We saw more or less what it was. I feel like
it actually wasn't, for what it was, it wasn't terrible.
Yeah. I was able to make a character kind of like myself. I liked that, and move him through the world a little bit. And it was a little clunky, but it was okay. I wish we could have gotten that earlier.
I liked, from a movement perspective, that when I failed, I felt like I was the one failing. And I felt like I could improve. Just like simple things in a game, right? Like, sometimes you play a game and you're like, man, this game is beating me. Like, the game is making me lose. Like, when I wasn't succeeding a parkour challenge, I felt like it was me causing that. And I think that that's a hard thing to iron out, and it's nice to see that for one thing they were able to get there. But I don't know how that fits into my image of what the game was going to be anyway, So I don't want to put too much value on, okay, that would have been great in a different game. I don't know. I never saw anything relating to what I thought was cool about the idea of Chronicles of Elyria.
Fair enough.
I mean, for what it wasn't terrible. I also want to say too, because I feel like a lot of it, people see that and they think that people like Snipe were sitting around doing nothing, which just isn't the case. I can tell you, I'm not going to tell you how to, but the client has quite a bit more in there than just this little obstacle course. I mean, they obviously were working on things for a while. There's a lot of stuff in there that you don't get to see because there's not an actual world to go through it. Well, there actually might be. I don't know. They've showed us. I assume it's the same client that they've showed some demos on. But there actually is quite a bit of work in there. So, not to think that everyone was just sitting around getting a check. They actually were working hard. There's a lot of actually really cool stuff. I put some of it in our Discord. But just so people are aware, yes, there was a game being worked on.
Yeah. And that's actually been one of the things that's been a little infuriating about the knee-jerk conspiracy reactionary nut sort of stuff that I've been seeing on the Discord. It was on the forums. It's been on the Reddit. The whole this was all fraud to begin with. They were just sitting around cashing checks, getting paid, not doing anything. That wasn't the case. That was not the case to any extent. I can't speak for the people that I don't know on the project, but the people I did know on the project, they have a thing called integrity, you see, and they would not stand around for anything like that to any extent whatsoever. Also, if they had that sort of free time, they'd have side projects they'd have been, so we've been seeing that too. But no, that wasn't the case. They were working. Everyone was working hard, from what I understand. I don't even know the studio is actually paying competitive wages to Microsoft, for example. They're paying more, from what I understand, indie rates rather than full on big studio rates. So it wasn't people being paid that sunk the project. And I know there's been a lot of people crunching numbers and coming up with websites and things and whatnot, trying to say that's what it was. And you guys are being ridiculous. Just chill the fuck out. Seriously, this is not that territory. This is actually a project being worked on.
Yeah, there's this whole lawsuit thingy, and I've been in the Discord just because I'm curious, but I'm not going to do one. I'm not going to join it. I'm also not going to go in there and say anything one way or the other. But just to see kind of what's been said, and there is this whole they didn't make anything. They spent $8 million to give us this little demo. If this thing would ever go anywhere, to me the funny part is they actually did quite a bit, and it's probably sitting on your computer as proof. So. Anyways,
I am really interested because a lot of the work, pre-DSS work, things that needed to be done, and we saw a lot of visualizations of iterations on the world building tool. Now, what would be a shame is that assuming that there was real progress made on this scale of procedural world generation, that was one of the core features that we're led to believe they'd ironed out a lot of the bugs on, right? They had been able to create and potentially fully render a world on this scale. Now, if that's the case, and now that work is just lost, other than the knowledge that people have gained for how to maybe implement this kind of system, I think that there's potential that there's valuable stuff there. We can't know because that was never packaged, never given to us, and we never were able to, just walk around even with a bird's eye view of this procedurally generated world. But theoretically, we were told that this world was procedurally generated that was then visualized for domain and settlement selection, and that it really existed. And all of the different servers that those worlds really existed and were generated. So I would be what I don't know. There's a comment that says, "So you believe all the lies?" I don't know what I'm not saying that I believe or not, but if that was really done, it would be a shame if the work was lost. Do you guys think that was
Yeah.
really done, or I don't think that they lied to me about that.
Yeah, the client. I obviously can't run a lot of this, so I can only see what I can see. But there is a dungeon generator. So I mean, there, as far as creating things on the fly like that, I mean, it appears at least there are the capability to do that exists. Not that they were necessarily lying. I obviously can't. I don't have the tools to do that, so I can only look at what I see. But there is a segment of that client that is for procedural generation of dungeons. So
I would like to be able to see the world. It's a shame that I can't.
Oh, it sucks. There were some screens in that client too, some characters selection screens that I've shared. The world, I would have loved to play in. Forget this sort of high fidelity graphics. Like, I would have loved to play in that world. I mean, it just in the low poly that it was would have been super fun. In hindsight, when we start getting into this whole crossbreeding and genetics and all of these real life things being wrapped into this game, that should have kind of spoken a little bit more to me about, okay, what are we exactly trying to do here, and what are we realistically going to do here? I'm sure, like everyone else, the idea is just so cool that you just sort of ignore the fact that sounds like a lot, especially for 15, 16 people.
I mean, it's basically just recycling the tag system they were going to use in Revival. Drag and drop an idea from a previous project, no big deal, honestly. Implementation was probably going to be harder than the actual concept of it, sure, but that's most things. But it's not like they didn't already have a basis for it from somebody who had literally designed something somewhere else and is, high up on the design ladder.
So, we are typically an hour show for those who don't watch. We had about 14, 15 minutes. We were going to take questions when we were going to have guests, but I don't know. Is anybody curious in chat about other thoughts that we might have? This has been fun. I mean, I've met a lot of folks through a lot of Discords and other things. There's a group, and I'll try to get their link, called Worldforge. That's
right. That's what I wanted to know the name of Worldforge.
I got to know a lot of the folks in there, Ashland, Polite, and everybody else. It's been fun. How long have we been doing this now? 2 years?
2017. Since 2017. That's when the Kickstarter was, right?
Sounds about right. Have to go back and check.
And it's been fun to see more people join the D crew, which is how we've been hanging out with Snipe and Ombwa for years.
Yep.
So there's been an influx there, and that's been great.
You're right. The Kickstarter was 2015. I think it was just after Snipe had joined the company that we actually did the first one. I think before we had maybe covered it as part of Theoryforge Fridays.
Yeah, we didn't separate into shows specific until after that point, but we had covered this game before that. I do want to say, as I've been reading more and more, that I don't feel that people are unjustified in wanting some refunds. I don't feel that people are unjustified in being upset. The way that this whole end was handled is convoluted, shady at best, and that I don't think anybody is trying to sugarcoat all of that. I just have a lot of positive memories from being a part of the community. I'm still excited about the potential of some of the tech that was at least supposed to have been worked on. And I want to see more work of this type. I would just like to see it approached from, let's get these basic things that make our game special in place first, instead of even like other games that we're following. Like, well, let's see if we can make a survival game, and then let's see if we can mod the survival game that we made into having these cool features that are the core of the game that we've wanted to make from the beginning. I don't know. And no, I don't play web games. I play a mobile game all day long, every day, which I'll talk to you about another time.
The and you know, the ugliness of how it all closed down, how sudden it was, the fact that it's like midway through the SOE, it was just a week after some amount of people started being able to play the game. For basically just being, all right, everybody, well, this is your last day, so come grab your stuff from the studio and leave off your keys tomorrow, and that's a wrap. I doubt that anybody got any severance. I hope everybody's going to be paid for, their final paychecks, hours, and paid time off and all of that sort of stuff. And if not, then, that's going to be yet another potential legal kerfluffle for the studio to have to manage. But for the entire team, for everybody that was, just exited in such a way, I, really hope for the best for everybody. And I'm fairly sure people have already started being able to get some hits on their resumes, considering everything just switched to remote work in the past couple of weeks for the most part across all of tech and games. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for people. I know a local friend actually got a job remotely that he's eventually going to have to move to once the unpleasantness is over. So it's something that I'm definitely hopeful for all of them. Even for my own sake, if the studios I'm with suddenly shut the doors, I at least have opportunities to work at other studios too. So it's kind of interesting times we're living in. So I'm hoping that they're not going to be out for too long.
Yeah, I woke up, checked my phone, and there's like 5 billion Discord little things at the top. I'm like, what the hell? And it's like, oh, you can release your map. I had made a map I basically copied DSS and added some things to it, and was told I couldn't show it to the community, like a search. You could search properties, compare properties, blah blah blah. And it was the first comment I saw was, well, you can share your map now. I'm like, huh, what the hell happened? Like, oh, and the next one's like, oh, they ran out of money. I'm like, what the fuck? And then it was like, oh, well, that was sudden. Okay. There was a question in chat whether we think this will negatively affect future Kickstarters for games like these. No.
Of course.
No,
every time they all do.
No, they don't. People like shinies.
No, they like shinies, but it's the idea that, I don't even look at it from Kickstarter. I just look at it from basic funding in general. Does the fourth meow, or however many meows anybody wants to count there having been going under before release, does that hurt the chances of being able to get investment and buy-in in the next one? Hell yes. Absolutely it does. Like, this, no one's ever going to let this one get lived down.
I'm still a sucker. So...
Yeah, then lots of people are. So I respectfully disagree with that.
The next one, but that doesn't mean this hasn't impacted the potential for the next one.
There has historically been Kickstarter after Kickstarter of things that have failed or something hasn't gone right, and when there is a wonderful idea with a great video package, people will back it. We all did it with Book of Travels. That was the last one. That I really don't think it might, in the short term, it probably will with a lot of the folks who back big time here. For the general public, no, I don't think. I think people now, will they pay $10,000? No, I hope everyone that watches this that's in chat, if you did give $40,000-$50,000, that you sort of learned that that's probably not the best thing to do next time. I mean, I have always said that. It blows my mind how much people.
But you can be a king.
So early into it. But no, I think, will people continue to throw $25-$50 down, $100 to get into an alpha? Sure. Yeah. I don't think that will change.
Honestly, I think it's fantasy that's just not going to do it. Star Citizen, sci-fi, did great. If someone basically was like, we're going to do Neocron, but make it an MMO or make it a Meow, I'm sure that would do fantastic. People love sci-fi. People love cyberpunk. It's hot these days. I feel like the fantasy side of things may be a potential limiting factor, and especially since all of the Meows up to this point have been more in that sort of range, that having something that's a little more advanced tech, I feel like we potentially have a better shot at things too. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be completely wrong. Maybe if you just had something and call it, well, this is like Game of, but like, actually get the royals, no, I guess all the peons and everything too. That might be a better pitch. That might get more people's interest, but I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see what the next one is. It could be just about anything, though. Afternoon having its issues, I think American colonialism then gets converted into something completely different because that was a bad first run to go with. I don't think that anybody's gonna be trying to do that one again. A robot to everyone. Is my audio a robot too?
Yeah, Discord's starting to fail us. So actually, everybody's screen is getting fuzzy or frozen for me. So, and I'm on a gigabyte up, down, or whatever. So
Wait, is that a little better?
Yeah, actually, maybe you were the problem.
Could be.
But back to what I was saying, there's just a long string, right? I mean, you go back to things like Pantheon, they had a failed Kickstarter. They're still in development, but there's not something released. You look at Crowfall, successful Kickstarter. They're creating a game, but it's taken a long time. These things aren't Star Citizen. People continue to pump money into that. So just because we have this one, no, I don't think this failure will stop anybody in the future of freely giving away their money. So,
well, on a crowdfunding level, maybe I still look at it from like the big deal, big time investor sort of perspective. People who are actually looking at doing, putting a lot of money in and hoping for return on investment and that sort of stuff. It's kind of funny to think about if the game had gotten maybe a bit further and there was something that was a little more playable out there and they did still run out of money, they would have at least had a chance for like Tencent to swoop in and save them or something. But they didn't even get that far, unfortunately.
Why do everybody think I hate Ashes of Creation? I don't understand this.
Actually, I'm the one that
I'm
really doesn't like it.
Sog is the one that hates it. I'm literally like backer number 4 or 5. I have seriously, I could show you a lifetime membership. So,
yeah, Phantom X was one of the first backers of Ashes of Creation, and I laughed at him. Like, I laughed out loud when he said he was backing that game. I thought, what a joke. Like, I know that people like to back games. I like to back games. That game just screamed scam at me from the start. The
And-
funny thing is that it might turn out to not be a total scam.
I was gonna say, and here we are.
And then somehow a whole bunch of people wanting to do something cool and just dreaming too big and not able to execute Chronicles of Elyria is going to go down in history as a scam. I'm pretty sure Ashes of Creation started out as a scam.
Yep, here we are. So, yeah, it's been fun.
It's been fun. What are we looking at next? Fractured, Book Travel, Seed. Seed is our big.
Seed. I wish I had a little bit more to talk about with Seed right now, but I like Seed. I like. I'm going to give Ashes of Creation another hard look, but I'm not diving. I have not followed all of the rest of y'all into the Fractured land, but just because I haven't had the bandwidth to the mental bandwidth to start looking into something else. But Seed for sure. I want a project to work on, so maybe I'll just start to look for, when I'm coding in the evenings, not like working extra on my job, like maybe working on like a community project of some kind. I'll look into something like that. So I'm interested if people have ideas of other things and how I could maybe help make a game moving forward. So that's where I'm at. Diggs and I are going to play the next WoW expansion.
Yeah. Shadowlands. I'm interested in that one. Surprisingly.
I'm hoping Star Citizen actually gets to be something worthwhile in the next couple of years. Not holding my breath, but if it keeps getting a little bit better with each quarterly update, eventually it'll get iteratively better enough to be, really a sit down and play for a few hours sort of game. Right now, the past few times I've played it with friends, it's mostly ended in error, except one time where a bug let us finish a mission. But it's just, there's a lot of games that I would like to see being made that aren't being made. Various different intersections of technology and features, and how it interfaces with the community. And obviously, there's plenty of opportunities for people to be doing that sort of stuff and making all sorts of projects. Obviously, if anybody comes across any new projects that might be of interest and kind of fill in the blank for what the Meow is supposed to be, but so far hasn't been, hit us up. You know where to find us. Theoryforge Discord is not going anywhere.
Yeah, we are going to be looking for something to fill this. So we have certainly our own ideas, but if there, as a community, if there are things that you would like to see, we are willing to listen. So, and I'll be happy to create a new intro. So, although apparently I can never get rid of the music, is what I'm told.
Well, you can use other music for other games and stuff, but we got to at least have some show using this music.
So
I actually turn on the stream at the start just so that I can hear that music, because it works to get me feeling ready to go. I don't know how to do a remake. Maybe I'll bet Phantom X could learn how to remix music. That would be his
you can
next
learn anything
project.
if you try.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll just have some fun with this. So. Anyways, well, it is 9:00, and I don't think there's a whole lot more to say because everybody's already said it. It's been everywhere.
Yeah. I think the one thing I would suggest is sticking with and being chill and building community. And if you had beef with people, now would be a good time to set your beef aside, because there's no reason to have it anymore. Game's done. It's all we have at this point is us.
Yeah. It's been fun. So, we hope everyone keeps coming to our show, coming to Discord, chats with us, lets us know about new things, and keep investing smaller amounts in the idea that we keep chasing. So, there's a lot of anger. The only thing I would say, I guess, to close the show is you had several developers who were very invested in this and very much, I think, wanted to see this succeed. So, just be mindful of who you speak to in certain ways is all. Disclaimer, yes, we are, I think, generally would consider ourselves friends with Snipe and Envoy, but just they clearly wanted to have this be a ship game. So if you're looking to blame someone, I think it's very clear who to do that with, and encourage the others instead of discourage, because we do want, I think everybody's dream is to see this eventually happen. So we want to make sure the people that can do it continue trying to do it. So everyone be safe, social distance.
Plume has one question.
What's that?
She says we have to wait. It appears that there's a pretty long delay on Twitch right now.
Yeah, there is.
Where should people go if they want to stay connected with the COE community? I don't think there's a central place.
Yeah, there's not.
I do want to say Plume's own group, Vandeer Gaming, has a really good group of people. So if Plume wanted to post the link for that Discord, she's welcome to. I will not join the class action Discord because I don't agree with that. Well, I don't want to be that. But there's the DOP crew where we get to see Snipe and Omba do some streaming, and Verde as well, and lots of good people that we met through Revival over there. And you're all welcome in the Theoryforge Discord. If the link is broken, I'll fix it. But yeah, if anyone wants to share their gaming communities even within our Discord, you're welcome to. We're not really a let's all game together community. We're happy to play games with anybody, but we're here to share and keep. We're a community link, not a self-contained community as it stands, I think.
Yeah, and I apologize. I did want to post. I mean, I would try to post our Discord, World Forge's Discord, and any of the others, but I can't pop out of Discord that I'm on. Otherwise, it will throw the stream completely off. So I just can't do that. Yeah, we can maybe put certainly maybe, I don't know, put a section for people to connect. Because they still exist. They've just all sort of reformed into different things. Like I know I'm part of Ashland, and it's sort of redoing its focus. And I know Blackheart's also sort of doing a similar thing. So we will try to find a way to make sure everyone can stay connected. Diggs, anything? Are you frozen? I can't tell. You've kind of looked that way the whole day.
There's a thumbs up.
All right. Well, guys, it's been fun. We hopefully will continue to see you with our future shows on whatever the hell they might be. So thanks for the ride, and we will certainly be around.
Yep.
See you.
See you later, folks.